People say love is sacrifice. They say love means standing by someone no matter what. They say if you give enough, love will give back. What they don't warn you about is the kind of love that takes so much from you that when it finally leaves, you are left standing alone, weak, confused, and wondering how devotion turned into punishment. What they never mention is how some people will drain you drop by drop, so slowly you don't notice you're becoming a ghost of yourself until there's almost nothing left to save. This is the story of Anna, a woman who learned the difference between love and self-destruction, between sacrifice and erasure. Anna loved in a way that had no safety net. She believed love was effort, endurance, patience, and self-sacrifice. She believed if you stayed long enough and gave deeply enough, love would never abandon you. She had learned this from her mother, who stayed through everything, from her grandmother, who endured in silence, from every romantic story she'd ever heard where the woman who waited, who forgave, who sacrificed, eventually won. She thought suffering was the price of being chosen. When she married Mark, people admired them. Mark was confident, ambitious, admired by others. He had the kind of presence that filled rooms, quick with a joke, always networking, always moving toward the next big thing. Anna was quiet, supportive, steady. She was the kind of woman who remembered everyone's birthdays, who smoothed over awkward moments at dinner parties, who made sure Mark's shirts were pressed and his favorite meals were ready when he came home from stressful days. Together, they looked complete. What no one noticed was that Anna slowly began to disappear. It started with small things. Mark didn't like when she wore certain colors. "You look washed out in that, babe. Wear the red dress instead." So she stopped buying clothes she loved. He preferred she keep her hair long, even though short hair made her feel free and confident, so she grew it out. He had strong opinions about how she spent time with her friends. "Do you really need to see Sarah again this week? You just saw her. It's like you're avoiding spending time with me." So the gaps between friend visits grew longer, then longer still, until months passed between conversations that used to happen weekly. She shaped her life around Mark's dreams. When he wanted to relocate for a promotion, Anna left the job she loved without complaint. When he said her hobbies were taking up too much space in the apartment, she packed away her painting supplies, her books, the guitar she'd been learning to play. She ignored her own exhaustion, waking at dawn to make breakfast before he left for the gym, staying up late to listen to his work frustrations even when her own day had been crushing. She learned to apologize easily and ask for little. "Sorry, I didn't mean to sound upset. Sorry, you are right, I'm being too sensitive. Sorry for bringing it up." Her definition of love became simple. Don't leave, don't be too much, don't ask for more than he's willing to give. Be grateful he chose you. Then Mark fell sick. The illness crept in quietly at first. Fatigue that didn't lift after rest, sharp pains in his lower back that he dismissed as gym injuries. Then came the collapses, once at work, once at home in the bathroom, where Anna found him unconscious on the tile floor, his face pale as paper. Hospital visits that once were rare turned into a routine. Fear settled into their home, heavy and constant, changing the air they breathed. Anna would watch Mark sleep in the hospital bed, his confident face softened with vulnerability, and feel her heart crack open with tenderness and terror. The doctor eventually spoke the words that changed everything. "His kidneys are failing, both of them. The damage is extensive." Dialysis followed, machines that beeped and whirred, tubes snaking from Mark's arm, long days in sterile rooms that smelt of antiseptic and quiet desperation. Mark became irritable and fearful, snapping at nurses, refusing to follow dietary restrictions, angry at his body for betraying him. Anna became stronger than she knew she could be. She researched everything about kidney disease, became fluent in medical terminology, learned to advocate for him when he was too tired or too proud. She held his hand through every treatment. She never missed a single appointment. She slept on uncomfortable hospital chairs, her body aching, so he wouldn't wake up alone. His family visited occasionally, but they always had excuses to leave early. His friends sent encouraging texts, but rarely showed up. It was Anna who bore witness to his failure in the dark hours before dawn. Anna who cleaned him when he was too weak to shower. Anna who held him when he cried about dying. When the doctor said a transplant was the only long-term solution, silence filled the room. Mark's mother suddenly remembered she had high blood pressure. His brother mentioned he was training for a marathon and couldn't risk it. His sister said she had young children to think about. His best friend since college said he just started a new job and the recovery time would jeopardize it. Everyone had reasons why they couldn't help. Reasons that sounded logical, responsible, even compassionate toward their own families. Anna didn't. "Test me," she said. They explained the risks in careful clinical language. One kidney meant a different life forever. Less strength, more complications, higher risk of kidney disease herself later in life, potential issues with pregnancy if she ever wanted children, permanent limitations on certain medications, on contact sports, on the physical resilience she'd always taken for granted. Anna asked only one question: will he live? When the answer was yes, she did not hesitate. Mark cried and held her, whispering, "I don't deserve you. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you. I promise, Anna, I promise." She believed him.
The surgery took something from her that could never be returned. When she woke up, pain lived with her permanently, a deep, gnawing ache that became her new baseline. Her body was changed forever. The scar stretched long across her side, a raised ridge that hurt to touch for months. Her energy levels plummeted, her immune system weakened. Simple infections hit her harder and lasted longer. Mark survived. For a moment, gratitude filled the room. People praised Anna. They called her brave, selfless, a perfect wife, an angel. Mark's mother hugged her and cried. His friends posted tributes on social media. For a brief, shining period, Anna felt seen, appreciated, loved. But gratitude, like applause, fades. Recovery was hard for Anna. She tired quickly, needing afternoon naps that made her feel weak and lazy. Pain followed her every day, sometimes dull, sometimes sharp enough to make her gasp. Simple tasks felt heavy. Grocery shopping left her exhausted. Standing to cook dinner required breaks. Her body needed rest and understanding and patience. Mark, however, healed faster, and with his strength returned something else: impatience. At first, the complaints were small. "You sleep too much. It's like living with a grandmother. Why is the house always like this now? You used to keep everything so clean. You weren't like this before the surgery. I miss how you used to be." Anna tried harder. She pushed herself beyond what her body could bear, ignoring the screaming protests of muscles and organs. She cooked while dizzy, gripping the counter when black spots danced in her vision. She cleaned while weak, pausing every few minutes to catch her breath. She smiled through pain that made her want to curl up and cry. Still, it wasn't enough. "You've become lazy," Mark said often, his voice carrying the same irritation he once reserved for incompetent co-workers. "Other women don't complain like this. Sarah had surgery and she was back to normal in a month. You always use that surgery as an excuse. It's been 6 months, Anna. How long are you going to milk this?" When Anna reminded him quietly of what she had sacrificed, gently, not as a weapon, but as a truth he seemed to have forgotten, his face hardened with resentment. "Are you going to mention that kidney forever?" he snapped once, his voice cutting. "It was your choice. I didn't force you." That was the moment Anna realized something terrifying. Her sacrifice had become an inconvenience. The gift she had given, her health, her body, her future, was now being held against her as evidence of her weakness. The very thing that had saved his life had become, in his eyes, the thing that ruined hers. Mark started coming home late, first by 30 minutes, then an hour. Then entire evenings would pass with vague explanations about work drinks and networking events. His phone was always locked now, always face down on the table, always in his pocket during dinner. His voice grew colder when he spoke to her, clipped and dismissive, as though her very presence irritated him. He criticized her weakness constantly, compared her to other women, women at his office who ran marathons, women he'd known in college who didn't let anything slow them down, hypothetical women who would never burden their husbands with medical complaints. He mocked her exhaustion. When she asked to stay home instead of attending a work party because she was in pain, he laughed bitterly. "Of course you are. You are always in pain. It's your personality now." "You are not the woman I married," he said one night, standing in the doorway of their bedroom, looking at her with something like disgust. Anna believed him for a while. She blamed herself. Maybe she was being weak. Maybe other women would handle this better. Maybe she was using her surgery as a crutch, as Mark suggested. She apologized constantly for being tired, for being in pain, for needing help, for existing in a diminished capacity. She tried desperately to become the version of herself that existed before surgery, forgetting that a piece of that woman now lived inside Mark, keeping him alive, pumping his blood, filtering his toxins. Then the truth surfaced. A message notification on his laptop while he was in the shower. Just a preview, but enough. "Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you." Anna's hand shook as she opened the laptop. She knew his password. It hadn't changed, which somehow made it worse. He wasn't even cautious about hiding it. Photos, messages, months of them. Laughing faces at restaurants Anna had wanted to try, but Mark said were too expensive. Hotel rooms, intimate conversations. A woman untouched by hospitals, full of energy and ease, uncomplicated by pain or sacrifice. A woman who represented everything Anna used to be and could never be again. The woman's name was Jessica. She worked in Mark's building. She was younger, vibrant, into hiking and spinning classes and weekend trips to wine country. When confronted, he didn't deny it. He sat at the kitchen table, arms crossed defensively, and said, "This marriage feels heavy. Everything is stress now. I feel like I'm drowning." Anna's voice shook, barely a whisper. "I lost my health so you could live." His jaw tightened, his eyes went hard. "And now I'm paying for it. I didn't sign up to carry this burden. I didn't ask you to give me your kidney. You offered, and now I'm supposed to be grateful forever. I'm supposed to spend the rest of my life taking care of someone who can't keep up." The words hung in the air like poison. Anna felt something inside her break that could never be repaired. Not her heart, she'd felt that break in smaller ways. This was deeper. This was the shattering of her belief that love could be earned through sacrifice. Still, he did not leave immediately. Instead, he stayed, criticizing, withdrawing, punishing her emotionally. Each day chipped away at what was left of Anna's spirit. He moved into the guest room. He stopped touching her, stopped looking at her with anything but resentment. He made jokes about her limitations to his friends during phone calls she could overhear from the bedroom. "Yeah, the old ball and chain is not feeling well again. What else is new?" Anna became a ghost in her own home, invisible except when Mark needed someone to blame for his unhappiness. When the divorce papers finally arrived, they arrived quietly. A manila envelope on the kitchen counter on a Tuesday morning. No conversation beforehand, no warning. Just legal documents that reduced 10 years of her life to contractual clauses about asset division. Anna stared at them for a long time before laughing softly, not out of joy, but disbelief. She had given her body, her strength, her future, a literal piece of herself that was now keeping him alive. And it still wasn't enough. After the divorce, Mark's life moved fast. Within 6 months, he married Jessica in a ceremony that Anna saw photos of on social media before she finally blocked him. They honeymooned in Greece. He traveled constantly, all the trips he'd said they couldn't afford when Anna wanted to see Paris. He laughed loudly in photos, his smile wide and performative. He posted happiness like proof, like evidence that leaving Anna had freed him. He spoke of Anna as a phase, a chapter he had closed, a difficult period he'd moved beyond. To friends who asked, he said things like, "We grew apart," and "She changed after her health issues," as though her health issues were unrelated to him, as though her body hadn't changed specifically to save his life. For a while, everything seemed to favor him. He got a promotion. He and Jessica bought a house in a trendy neighborhood. His social media was an endless stream of restaurant openings, concert tickets, spontaneous weekend getaways. He looked vital, alive, unburdened. Then, slowly, quietly, things began to fall apart. The new marriage was not patient. Jessica had not signed up for sickness or struggle. She had signed up for the fun mark, the successful mark, the healthy mark. When challenges came, when Mark's mother was diagnosed with dementia, when his company downsized and his job became precarious, when his own health began showing concerning signs, there was no Anna to endure silently, no one willing to suffer quietly to keep peace. Jessica's love had conditions. Reasonable ones, perhaps, but conditions nonetheless. His health began to fail again, not suddenly, but steadily. Fatigue returned like an old friend. Weakness crept back into his limbs. Blood work showed concerning markers. Hospital visits resurfaced, first quarterly, then monthly. The transplanted kidney, while functioning, was showing signs of stress. The doctors couldn't say exactly why. Rejection wasn't happening, but the organ wasn't thriving either. His body seemed to be aging faster than it should. His career stalled when he had to take medical leave. Friends drifted when he couldn't keep up with their social pace. The invitations slowed, then stopped. The woman beside him now had limits. "This is too much," Jessica said, after a particularly difficult month where Mark was hospitalized twice. "I didn't sign up for sickness. I can't do this. I'm 34 years old. I want to enjoy my life." She said it kindly, almost apologetically, but firmly. And she left. Mark sat alone in hospital waiting rooms where Anna once held his hand, reading magazines she'd bring him, talking quietly about nothing important, just to keep fear at bay. He remembered the calm in her voice during his worst moments, the steadiness, the sacrifices she never weaponized, never threw in his face until he pushed her to defend her own humanity. For the first time, the thought struck him with painful clarity. He had lost a jewel. Not because she stopped loving, but because he did not know her worth until she was gone. He had held a diamond and complained it wasn't gold. He had possessed something precious and treated it as common. He thought about the life he could have had. If he had cherished her, if he had protected her the way she protected him, if he had loved her sacrifice instead of resented it. But time doesn't move backward. Years after the divorce, Mark returned. It was late autumn, 5 years since the papers were signed. Anna was living in a small apartment she had decorated exactly to her taste. Soft blues and greens, plants in every window, her paintings back on the walls. She had gone back to school, gotten her teaching credential, and now taught art to middle schoolers who both exasperated and delighted her. She dated occasionally, cautiously. She had learned to protect herself, to recognize red flags, to understand that not all love was good love. Mark found her through a mutual friend. He sent a message first, asking if they could talk. Anna, curious despite herself, agreed to meet at a neutral coffee shop. He arrived older, weaker, humbled. His face had new lines. His shoulders curved inward slightly, the confident posture gone. He moved carefully, like someone whose body had betrayed him and might do so again. He stood before Anna, voice shaking. "I was blind," he said. "I forgot who stood by me when I was nothing. I forgot what you gave me. Not just the kidney, everything. Your time, your energy, your youth. You gave me years I wouldn't have had, and I repaid you with cruelty." Anna listened quietly, her face calm. "I lost a jewel," he continued, his voice breaking. "The transplant is failing. The doctors say I'll need another one eventually, or back to dialysis. And all I'm thinking about is how you were there through the worst of it last time. How patient you are. How I will never find that again because I destroyed it." He paused, tears running down his face. "Please forgive me. Please. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway." Anna looked at him gently, without anger, without joy. She had done so much healing in these 5 years. She had learned that forgiveness wasn't about the other person. It was about releasing the poison from her own heart. She said, "I already forgave you, but forgiveness doesn't mean return." She met his eyes calmly, clearly. "I gave you what cannot be replaced. I won't give you myself again." Mark's face crumpled. "Is there no chance? Even after everything I've realized? I'm different now. I understand what I lost." Anna spoke softly but firmly. "You are different because you are suffering. You understand what you lost because you need it again. That's not transformation, Mark. That's regret. And regret isn't the same as being worthy of a second chance." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I hope you find peace. I hope your health stabilizes. I hope you learn from this. But I'm not the one who will teach you. I already paid that tuition." She stood, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder for just a moment, a gesture of compassion, not invitation. "Goodbye, Mark." Anna walked away, and Mark understood, too late, that some losses are permanent, that some doors, once closed, cannot be reopened no matter how hard you knock, that some people will only be given to you once, and if you squander that gift, the universe does not provide replacements. Anna went on to live quietly, carefully, loving herself the way she once loved others. She adopted a dog named Luna that slept on her bed and greeted her with pure joy every day. She painted again, selling pieces at local galleries. She built friendships with women who celebrated her instead of diminishing her. She shared her story in support groups, in online communities, in quiet conversations over coffee with women who are still bleeding silently in the name of love. She told them that sacrifice without reciprocity is not love, it's self-destruction, that you cannot save someone who resents being saved, that being needed is not the same as being valued. And here is the truth buried inside this story. Some people only recognize a jewel after it is lost. Some only value sacrifice when it is no longer available. And some apologies arrive after the door has closed forever. Love without respect is consumption. Sacrifice without appreciation is erasure. And staying is not always strength. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. So here's the question. If you are Anna and the person who broke you came back broken, would love give them a second chance? Or would wisdom say no? Would you open the door that was closed in blood and tears? Or would you honor the woman you had to become to survive? Drop your answer in the comments.